Hi, Sunita. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I think we just finished with some breakout sessions, and I think I was just waiting for everyone to be in, but I think we will start. Hi, everyone. Welcome back from your breakout sessions. I hope that you had some meaningful sessions, and we had too in some of our discussion. It was really great to hear from a lot of people who were quite quiet on the main, but had a lot of very useful inputs to share. And I hope that later on we will be having a bit more sharing. So thank you very much for that. And let's move on to our next segment on authentic leadership. So this afternoon we have with us Sunita Kaur, who is the SVP at Twitch. And this is the role, the first of this role, Sunita. You oversee all operations for content creators, media partners, agencies, and a whole lot of people. And you were in Spotify before this, where you were the managing director of Southeast Asia and the VP revenue in APAC over six years. And you've been in different areas, different countries, Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, Taiwan, sorry, and the Philippines. And previously you were at Facebook, Microsoft, and Forbes. Well, that's really a very interesting and a very illustrative career, I think, Rita. So we are here this afternoon to have a discussion. I wouldn't say that we want um, to have a talk, and I thought that it would be nice. We want to make this session interactive. So, if you have questions, you can just post. You don't have to wait for the end of the session. You can post it in the chat, and I would help to moderate this session with Sunita. And, please feel free to ask the questions, because we're coming to the end of the day and end of the session, so it'll be great if we could interact a bit more. So Sunita, before we start, is there anything you want to say before?
Well, I wanted to say a big hello to everyone, and it's pretty incredible to be here and wind up the day with all of you.
Yeah, great. Sunita, this segment is on authentic leadership, and I was thinking, what does it mean to all of us? What would you say to yourself personally? What is authentic leadership? And this term has come out quite a bit today, so it'll be interesting to listen to what you have, your views on this.
I know it is very much the theme of for a lot of us who are trying to manage large teams and what it means to each and every person. And I think kind of that's where we start. Just what does authentic leadership mean to all of us? And because it will mean different things to different people. And I think it's also it takes time to be able to kind of settle into what leadership means for you, because the whole idea of it is it has to be authentic. So it's got to come from a place that you yourself, believe in. And it was funny, like, as Sarala, you and I were talking, and we had talked about Bill George's book about authentic leadership, and that was back in 2003. But a lot of those themes still resonate today, and I actually think they're even more important today than they've ever been. But I look back on my kind of 30-year career, and I look back on the different types of management styles and leadership styles that we've all encountered. And I know for me, it's I kind of graduated and started working in the mid-90s, and back then it was quite the that I will yell at you until you get my point and do what I want you to say, and say do what I want you to do. And then you've got managers that really kind of just let you sink or swim. But in today's world, it's very much about getting involved. And when we think about authentic leadership, I think we think about 5 tenets, which are like values and purpose and trust and self-discipline, and heart, right? And of those five, yes, with values, it's really about being true to yourself, what you believe in, and speaking and acting according to your values. With purpose, and I think this is very, purpose is, I think, quite important to women, because oh gosh, how many years have we heard the phrase, oh, you can have it all. But I think a lot of us are starting to wonder what that all is. Is that all, everything from a career to children to a marriage to friends to family? Is that it doesn't mean the same thing to all of us. So like for me personally, my all is very different. I'm heading probably towards the end of my career, so I'm starting to think about retirement. I'm starting to think about spending more time with my family, and then work-wise, my all is really the team. It's the next generation of leaders, right? So in terms of my purpose right now, it's very different from everyone else's purpose. Then there's trust. And I think trust has always been a difficult thing to build, but it's such an important part of being a leader. When I remember when I joined Twitch, I literally spent my first 6 months just building trust, and being there. And again, I think being there is a big part of any interaction that you have. So being present, I'm talking to all of us are talking, and it's not phones going off and Slack pings and email pings, but we're here. And then I think the last two tenets of authentic leadership is probably what I really relate to. One is self-discipline. Personally, I'm incredibly structured, and when I'm at work, and at 7:30 in the evening, my phone goes into airline mode, and that's my day. And last but not least, the center of authentic leadership is your heart, right? You need to lead with your heart, and we've all been told we need to lead with empathy. But the one thing that I have learned probably in the past few years is you can lead with empathy in your heart, but you can also lead with empathy in your head. Some things may happen that you know are not right, but you need to be a part of, but your heart isn't quite in it. That's when you start to kind of lead with your head. So authentic leadership is a lot of things, but I think taking all of that and just making it your own is really important.
Yeah, thank you for those insights. And I think, of course, authentic leadership in a way means walking the talk, right? I mean, you have set certain examples, and everyone's looking at you, especially when you're managing that team, to see, hey, she said this, but is she really going to do it? That kind of thing. So yeah, and really empathy has come out a lot of times, how to be empathy with heart and with the mind. I think that's so real, and that's so relevant to today's conversations. Today we have a lot of women from different parts of the world. Some of us from the Southeast Asia, some of us from other parts of the world. And how has that been different? You've done a lot of work in the Asia Pacific region, and I was just wondering, is there a way to have a comparative analysis, for a lack of a better word, on how women are as leaders in just different spaces?
Gosh, I think there's like fundamental similarities, and then a lot of the differences may be, cultural or what we're used to growing up. But we all talk about, glass ceilings. We all talk about diversity. We talk about bullying. I think those are global. But then when you get down to, regional kind of ripples, it could mean something quite different. And I think what was really interesting was just last week, we had our Women in APAC quarterly session. So at Twitch, we have a women's guild, and which is it's got a very strong voice, because it's not just the voice of women at Twitch, it's also the voice of all of the women on Twitch, all of our creators, and their ages range as well. So we look internally and we look externally and try and help them to have a voice. But so we got together to talk about what diversity meant for us out here, because it's, gosh, I mean, you cannot turn on the news without Black Lives Matter, or now all of the terrible Asian hate that's going on in the US. And so we decided to get together and talk about what this means to us. And there were two things that sort of came about. One theme was education. And I think that education piece came from, and it was myself, it was my colleagues in Korea, in Taiwan, and in Japan. And the first thing that came up was, everybody worked hard at trying not to get married off really early on. A lot of us were like, no, we didn't want to come downstairs and have some, strange dude that your grandmother had brought around sitting in your dining room. A lot of us kind of wanted to really push education. So education is a real passion point for the Women's Guild, especially in APAC. The other thing that came up that was really interesting was ageism. It was a topic that we ended up spending a lot of time on. And as women started to think about, okay, I'm in my early 30s, or my late 30s, or my mid 40s, or my late 40s, what does that mean for my career? So that's actually something that, for some odd reason, came up as a talking point for the Asia Pacific region, for the women at Twitch.
At Twitch, do the women feel that they are given even equal opportunities across the organization?
Yes. I've sat on many sort of women's leadership teams throughout my career, and there's been a couple of real standouts, and the two have been really at Spotify and Twitch. And I think at Spotify, one of the things that really impressed me was, obviously in music, it was about, highlighting more female artists. And so what Spotify did internally is we always kind of, go at this problem from a woman's point of view. And Spotify addressed gender diversity from the male perspective. So what they did was maternity leave, all women, 6 months, fully paid maternity, and all male, all new fathers, 6 months, fully paid paternity as well. Oh. So we leveled the playing field from the male perspective. So whether you're male or you're female, as a new parent, not a mother or a father, as a new parent, you've got 6 months fully paid paternity and maternity. And it was very interesting having these conversations with my male colleagues who, when they had a child, would say, I don't want to take my paternity. It makes me nervous. What if I don't have a job when I come back? And I'm like, welcome to our world. But it took that off the table. And it's been the same at Twitch. Everything when it comes to gender diversity, it's a very, very level playing field.
That's great. I like that example. I think the main conversation today is also on digital world, whatever industrial revolution that we have been through and so on. Has it been, are there more challenges for women wanting to succeed in technology? Or I just don't want it to make it a women's issue. Or is it the same? I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man, but to deal with this digital transformation, to deal with this industrial revolution, is it the same kind of challenges? And are there the same kind of solutions in place?
From my perspective, it's the same. Honestly, I have the same conversations with everyone. We all want to build our careers. We all want to be good at what we do. We all want to have a healthy, well-rounded life. And the one thing that has been kind of almost a bigger part of my day-to-day is the 5-generational workforce. Because in the last, we think about our workforces now, we do have 5 generations. We have our baby boomers and we have our Gen Zs. And very quickly, those 5 generations basically quickly cover anybody who is from 21 to 55, right? When you start to define them. And these generations have very different work ethics. Even for me, like personally, I remember maybe about 7 years ago, and this is my early days at Spotify, when I am Gen X. Gen X is, you work 9 to 5, you're at your desk at 8:59, and then 4:59, you're looking at your watch and you're thinking, okay, I'm out of here. And I really struggled with people kind of, wandering in at 10:30 because they've been up since 3 o'clock the previous morning. It was just a very different working style. But the whole idea behind a 5G workforce is you're able to learn from each other, which I think is just such an interesting and invigorating sort of idea.
That's very interesting, right? I mean, because working with the 5 generation, and I'm sure you have that challenges. And I'm wondering, so you are saying that they managed to find something which everyone was comfortable with. I mean, sort of come up with their own space, and you think that worked at Spotify?
It's worked at Spotify. It's worked at Twitch. It's something you need to learn. You need to learn to be okay with it. I definitely had to learn to be okay with it, and I definitely am now. You don't have to adopt it, but we all kind of meet in the middle. Like the older generation loves to go to the office because we love that that social connection. I definitely find that you need to be together to build a vibe, to have an identity. And so we do encourage everybody to come together, but maybe not 5 days a week. And I think COVID has really thrown this whole concept of going to the office every day up in the air. So it's a continuous learning experience.
Yeah. And that's interesting. The last session, the round table that I was in, we were talking about unconscious bias and maybe conscious bias too. Because, what would be some strategies that people put in place to overcome this unconscious bias? And having 5 generations working, I'm sure there's a lot of bias. And I think one thing that we talked about was really having training, which looked at addressing the biasness. But do you think of any, or could you suggest or propose any other ways that we can overcome this bias, whether conscious or unconscious?
Gosh, so I have been for unconscious bias workshops. I have struggled with it because it's really difficult, and it takes time to sort of get over something that's so ingrained in your upbringing. What I found to be the most useful so far is pairing up the generations. when you actually have like mentorship programs, and it's not just about the slightly older generation mentoring the younger generation. It's the other way around. And I actually think the other way around is when it's really interesting. Even for me, when I started, because I was in print for the first 10 years of my career, and I just thought, oh my God, I need to learn about this internet thing. And so my mentor to sort of teach me about the entire digital world was my friend's 16-year-old son. And so he was my mentor. I was in my mid-30s, he was 16, and he taught me. That was how I learned that you could actually search in Google in a full sentence, right? Because it's so much part of their world. And so I think that it tears down a lot of walls. It really takes you into the other world, and you just learn that it's just a very different way of growing up, and their biases are very different from ours.
Yeah, and that's also something that we discussed throughout the day today, mentors, having mentors. And, I just wanted to say that a mentor doesn't have to be a person who's older than you or a person who's more so-called work experience more than you, but it's someone who is there to support you in whatever area. And as what you exactly said, Sunita, if it's a new technology, we will be looking at your 15-year-old child or nephew or friend or something like that. I mean, we're not going to be looking at someone a bit older because, that may not be their skill sets, right? And I thought that was something that it was useful for the group, that the mentors are people who are there to support you in whatever you want to learn. And we may not need to have that bias that it should be someone older, someone more experienced, someone that we look up to. I mean, that may be your champion, but not necessarily your mentor. So thank you for that. And maybe just as a last note, and I mean, there are a lot of women here, and are there any parting words of wisdom, some takeaways for the women in terms of leadership, that you have and that you want to share with us? Especially, I think, in the area of technology. I mean, is there a fear for women to go into technology, or it's okay? There are a lot of opportunities.
There should not be any fear. It's not new anymore. It's incredibly interesting and incredibly exciting and ever evolving. I can't think of a more interesting space to be. And again, I'm not a digital native at all. I'm an immigrant. And again, coming from 10 years in the print world, it was something that I thought, oh my goodness, it's so interesting. And then even within the last 15 years I've spent in tech, it was learning about social media with Facebook, and then music streaming with Spotify, and now live video streaming with Twitch. I mean, if you told me 25 years ago that this was going to be the world that we were going to live in, I would have never believed you. And you can only imagine what the next 5-10 years are going to be. So it's really cool to be in the middle of it.
Yeah. And definitely, Shobna, thank you for your comment. I mean, it is our ability to learn new things, right? And to adapt to a growth mindset. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Sunita. I think that was excellent. And thank you for ending the day on such a positive and such a vibrant note. So thank you for your time. And any questions before we let Sunita go? And I would like to encourage, since we've come to the end of the session, for you to switch on your cameras and unmute yourself to say hi, or to say what you want to take away from this event. And do pose some hard questions, Sunita, before we let go.
Not too hard.
Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. Hello. Yeah, my name is Tui. I'm working in the digital and technology as well. Working for VF Corporations, a company that owns brands like Vans, Timberland, The North Face. And yes, we are moving to Singapore soon, so we are very excited. Please become our customer. I'm kidding. But seriously, I'm facing an issue to hire tech people in Singapore. So I just wonder if you have like, where can I find female in tech in Singapore? I would love to have more female in tech. I would love to have my team member as a female, but all the candidates I received are male. And I'm just looking at it and feeling so sad about it. So is there any community that I can reach out to, or is there any way we can motivate more female or young lady to do working in tech? Like you said, it's so exciting. I love it.
It really is. There are actually some very, very cool groups in Singapore that focus on women in technology, whether you want, like if you're looking for coders, even there's a great group called Girls Who Code, and we have a lot of fun in that community. Yeah, it's just, I'm surprised because I think, well, firstly, I always use LinkedIn for any job posts and then kind of circulate it there. We tend to get quite a lot of great resumes through there, but there are women, depending on what type of tech, whether it's marketing tech or coding tech, there are some fantastic groups on LinkedIn, especially.
Oh, I see that.
Serve that.
Here, yeah. Okay. Okay, great. I would look at the chat and try to get contact with some of this group too, because I would really love to have some female member in Singapore, yeah, to join the tech team.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So sorry to interrupt. I actually put some communities I'm in with the founders who are women, so you can look for them and then also.
Yeah, thank you, Mariam. Yes, yeah, I will.
Yeah. All right, with that, thank you so much, Sunita. Thank you. And ladies, any other comments? Okay, so we have come to the end of our session, the end of our conference for today. Thank you for being such a good group of participants. And I just wanted to sort of summarize some of the key points that, and I thought I started that this morning. But just to conclude with that kind of remarks again, to look at what are some of the key factors that women, not only necessarily women in leadership, but women as a whole should have. And I thought I'll share the list with you. Of course, we talked about being passionate, and I think a lot of speakers spoke about being passionate in what they're doing, having a sense of purpose, all right, definitely. And I think what we also looked at was that sense of purpose, the passion changes as we move. As Sunita and Sarah said earlier in the day, that, you know, what we want in our 20s and what we want in our 30s or 40s or 50s even would change. And that's perfectly all right, because it's your passion and it's your purpose. Of course, we talked about bias and we talked about different ways of overcoming the bias. And other things is, of course, you know, believe in yourself. Don't be afraid to fail, even though you may be at you know, in your 40s or 50s. Remain resilient. Keep upping your game. And one thing that I wanted to say is that, you know, I was a bit disappointed when I saw a lot of people speaking about their mentors, and their mentors were all men, and I was like, what happened to women supporting each other? And I think let's do that. And I think that is a takeaway and a commitment that I want to make, that I will continue to support women and uplift women and give them a safe environment to thrive, to grow, you know, and that is it. And to be a mentor, to be a champion of women. I'm not saying don't be champion of men, but I'm saying, you know, this is equally important. And you don't have to change the whole world on your own. I mean, there are teams, you need people around you to help that make, and you're never alone. Up your emotional intelligence. I think that is something else that we talked about. Be more adaptable. And I think at the end, make time for yourself, love yourself. These are the key areas that I think that I wanted to talk about as we end. And on behalf of the Women Leadership Institute, I really like to thank each and every one of you for attending this event and making it a great success and giving me the motivation and the growth that I needed. I learned a lot in the last 2 days. And so much of thanks to the speaker, the panelists who made so much of, put in so much of effort in their presentation and the sessions. I love to thank the organizer, Talia, Naomi, and the rest of the organizers who've worked behind the scenes. Without you, this event will never be a success. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. And my takeaway and my commitment is to make sure that I step up and I shape the new reality to help women grow more, uplift the girls in my life, so that, you know, in a few years they would be having different conversations on this. So that is it. So I would like to close this conference with 2 quotes from which are close to my heart.
Sarala,
yes.
Sorry, I just have one comment before everyone goes and before you give your final quote, right? Because we created the WhatsApp group for participants of the summit. We realized that it would be good to continue the conversation and to keep the momentum going, because like doing it only once a year, we realize that people sometimes get disjointed and they lose the steam during the process and they need a little bit of uplift and support. So there's a WhatsApp group. However, I'm not sure how to share the link. So if Liz or one from the organizers could share a link for everyone to join the WhatsApp group, that would be wonderful, because that link has been shared yesterday, and this is how I joined the group, but I'm not sure everyone is aware. I would like to make sure that everyone can join this group. So Liz, if you can share the link invitation to the WhatsApp group that has been there, that would be wonderful. Or someone from your team, please.
Hi guys. We are going to share the WhatsApp details in the post-conference materials, so everybody can join, because we also think that it's a really good idea, so everyone can stay connected and support each other. So we will be the admin for that, and we will share that with everyone, so everyone will get the chance to join.
Beautiful. Thank you, Taylor.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding us. I'm also not in that group, so yeah, I will join the group. So I think one quote that I wanted to say is, of course, from Michelle Obama, that there's no limit to what we as women can accomplish, and I strongly believe that. And a favorite of mine over the years is Gandhi, that be the change that you wish to see in the world. So I think those are 2 parting quotes from me, and I hope that we have met all your expectations for this particular conference, and I hope to meet you in person, hopefully by next year, and I hope to see you all. And until then, be safe, take care, and I hand you back to Taylor.
Thank you so much, Sarala, for doing such an excellent job at chairing today. Thank you also to all our speakers who took the time out of their busy schedules to speak at this event. It has been a very valuable 2 days. I have learned a lot myself. So I'm very impressed to see how everyone came together and supported each other and shared some personal experiences as well. I think it's really important that we all do come together so we can all succeed and climb this leadership ladder. So thank you all for staying till the end. Have a well-deserved rest tonight, and we will see you again next year. So take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Stay in touch. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you, organizing team. I know it's not easy to be behind the scenes, but you've done a wonderful job.